All right, guys, today's our last day of the chapter. We're talking about solving proportions today. So you've probably heard this terminology before, but when you're solving proportions, you need to cross multiply. What's a proportion? It's when a fraction equals another fraction. That is what a proportion is. And when you see that, you are going to cross multiply. You just have to be careful about distribution when you do that. So I'm going to first cross this way. And I'm going to write 3 parentheses, x minus 7. Keep the equal sign in the middle. And then you're going to cross the other way. And I'm going to write 5 parentheses, 2x plus 1. In this case, now we have some distributing we need to do. We've been practicing this all chapter long. I'm going to distribute there, and I'm also going to distribute here. When I take 3 times x, I get 3x. And when I take 3 times negative 7, 3 times negative 7 is negative 21. Keep the equal sign. And when I take 5 times 2x, I get 10x. And when I take 5 times 1, I get 5. And it's positive. From this case, now I have an x on this side and an x on this side. And I have a whole number on this side and a whole number on this side. I want x's on one side, and I want whole numbers on the other side. So maybe the first thing I will do is I will try and move this 10x over to join these. So remember, you're trying to keep like terms together. So I'm going to move the 10x over to this side. And the reason why I'm keeping it all nice and lined up with the x's is because that's like terms. I don't want to put it here because this is a whole number. That's not a like term with an x term. But what I did do here is I can cancel my positive 10x and my next negative 10x, and I just get 5. I still have this 5, and it's positive, hanging out here. But I can combine like terms. 3 minus 10 is negative 7x, and I still have my minus 21. This looks like an equation that can be a lot easier solved. I'm going to now take my opposite of negative 21, and I'm going to add 21 to both sides. And I'm running out of room, but that's okay. I'm going to write it over here. I have negative 7x equals, and I have 5 plus 21, which gives me 26. The opposite of multiplying by negative 7 is dividing by negative 7. That cancels my negative 7's, and I have x equals a really ugly fraction, 26 over 7. You can leave it like that, my friends. Let's try another one. I'm going to start by distributing, cross-multiplying like so. I'm going to take 7 and multiply it by x minus 2. Keep the equal sign, and I'm going to cross the other way. I'm going to take my 9 and multiply by 2x minus 1. So always make sure that you keep your equal sign. This equal sign just stays. And now I don't have any fractions anymore, so it looks a lot easier. I just have to do some distributing. Anytime you have a whole number outside some parentheses, you want to distribute it in. When I take 7 times x, I get 7x. And when I take 7 times negative 2, it's negative 14. Keep the equal sign, and I'm going to do the same thing on the right-hand side. 9 times 2x is 18x. 9 times negative 1 is negative 9. Now I'm going to bring my 18x over to join these x's. And then I'm going to take my negative 14 and I'm going to combine it with my negative 9. So I'm trying to get my x's together and my whole numbers together. I'm going to do the x's first. I'm going to subtract 18x because it's positive right now, and the opposite of positive 18x is negative 18x, and whatever I do to one side of the equation, I have to do to the other one. Make sure you keep it lined up with the x terms because those are the like terms. I don't want to put minus 18x underneath this 14 because this is a whole number. That's not an x term. You got to keep your x's together. 7 minus 18 is negative 11x. And I still have negative 14. Those 18x's canceled, and I still have negative 9 over here. Now I'm going to try and get this x by itself. So the opposite of minus 14 is plus 14. I still have negative 11x. And negative 9 plus 14 is 5. Now all I need to do is divide by negative 11. The opposite of multiplying by negative 11 is dividing by negative 11. And I get x equals negative 5 over 11. You can leave it like that as a fraction. This proportion looks a little bit different just because it's a whole number and a whole number here, but I know whenever I see fraction equals fraction, that means cross multiply. So here I go. I'm going to take my 7 and distribute it into 2x plus 1. Keep the equal sign. I'm going to take the 5 and distribute it into x plus 7. Whenever I see that whole number with parentheses, I want to distribute. So I'm going to take 7 times 2x, which is 14x. 7 times positive 1 is positive 7. Keep your equal sign. 5 times x is 5x. And 5 times 7 is 35, and it's positive. Now again, I've got an x on this side and an x on this side, so let's combine them. Let's move the positive 5x over by subtracting it from both sides. Those cancel, and I have 14 minus 5x, which is 9x. Remember to keep it lined up with your x's because you want the like terms to stay together. I'm still going to bring down this positive 7 that I haven't dealt with yet, my equal sign, and I just have 35 on this side. Now I need to try and get this x all by itself, so I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides. The opposite of plus 7 is minus 7. I still have 9x, I still have my equal sign, and 35 minus 7 is 28. Opposite of times 9 is divide by 9. So divide by 9 on both sides. X equals 28 over 9. I'm just going to leave it like that. Let's flip over to this back page. I've got a couple problems to do here. Solve the following equations. It might be easier to pretend like they are proportions. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine my 1 and my x up here. Even though it's 1/3 x, that's the same thing as 1x over 3. The x is being multiplied. You can think of it as x over 1 if you want to, and you just multiply the tops together and the bottoms together. So 1 times x is 1x, 3 times 1 is 3. Keep my equal sign, and I've got 7 over 12 on this side. Now let's cross multiply because I see fraction equals fraction. That means cross multiply. So when you cross this way, 3 times 7, that's pretty simple, 21. You don't even need to distribute because there's no parentheses anywhere. It's not a binomial that I'm multiplying by. When I cross this way, 1x times 12 is just 12x. And now all I need to do, I'm just trying to get x by itself, but I'm going to divide both sides by 12. And I get 21 over 12 equals x, and I'm pretty sure that reduces. I think I can divide both the top and the bottom of this fraction by 3, just to make it a simplest terms fraction. 21 divided by 3 is 7. 12 divided by 3 is 4, and that is what x is. Let's try one more. Something pretty simple I could do first. I just see a fraction, an x, and I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides in order to try and get this x by itself. So I'm going to start by moving over that 2. The opposite of plus 2 is minus 2, so it's just going to help me clean it up a little bit. 5 over 4x equals 7 minus 2 is 5. Now I see a reciprocal opportunity here. Whenever there is a fraction there that you need to get rid of, let's just multiply by the reciprocal, aka reciprocal. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. And so that's going to cancel my fraction here. That's beautiful. I just have x left over now. And now what you can do in your calculator is you can take 5 times 4 divided by 5, and that gives you 4. And we're done. Thanks for watching, you guys. Let's do some more practice in class and ask a bunch of questions, okay? Love you all.